Hello, today we're talking about generalizing spreadsheets. So your task will be to, solve a couple problems using spreadsheets. I'm going to show you an example. So let's say you're trying to calculate your overall grade using a spreadsheet, and you're assuming your grade consists of homework assignments worth 20% of your grade, quizzes worth 30% of your grade, and tests worth 50% of your grade. And we'll set up a spreadsheet with labels, input cells, and output cells, which are just formulas to calculate your overall grade. We're going to make up our data, but essentially we're making it so that anybody could use this spreadsheet to calculate their own grade if this was the problem, like the problem setup, if this was the type of grade you had. So let's say we have, oops, no, it's not typing, there we go. Homework. Homework score. I'm just going to do this to double click here. I'll make it big enough to fit. And I'm making these bold just because I think it looks nicer. And then we have quizzes, quiz scores. I'm going to go back and make this scores just to be consistent. None of this stuff is particularly important as long as you have labels. I don't care if you would have labeled them differently. And then we have test and test scores. Oops, test scores. So let's leave it here for now. So let's say we had some homeworks. Let's say we have one that's called homework number 1. And then we have homework number 2. Homework number 3. Oops, not number at. Homework number 3. Okay. And let's say our homeworks are out of 10. Actually, you know what? Let's say our homework percentages, okay? So let's say our homework score, you got, and you could change this, you could make it scores, but let's say our homework score, we got 100 on one of our homeworks, we got 90, we got a 92. Let's say we had quiz 1 and quiz 2 and quiz 3. Actually, let's say there's only 2 quizzes. Doesn't matter, this is made up data. Let's say your quiz scores were a 75 and an 82. Let's say you had 2 tests as well, test 1, test 2. And let's say your test scores, let's say you got 100 on the first one, which is awesome, and then in the next one you got like a 65, which was less awesome, right? That's okay. So now if we look at this, now again, just keep in mind this is all made up. You could have called these other things, you could have said different scores, but we're making it so that somebody could use this. And so now we have our homework scores, etc. Let's look at total sum of, doesn't autocorrect there, sum of scores. So let's do equals sum, and let's do everything from here to here, okay? Because if anybody just wanted to use this, maybe you replace all these with different homeworks, maybe you have scores down to here. Let's do the sum, let's see, I'm going to change this and say sum of homework scores. And here's something we can do. We can't see all that. If you go up to text wrapping and click that, and go to this middle one, it says wrap. It'll wrap for you. I'm going to call this one sum of quiz scores. And now it goes over. Once again, I'm going to go to text wrap. Pick this middle one. That one's clip. I don't want to clip it. I want to wrap it. And so we'll do equals sum of all of these. Again, there's nothing in there, but you could insert those and it would affect your total. And sum of test scores. Once again, I'm going to wrap it. Text wrapping. And then equals sum of everything down to here. Again, we only have 2, but you could insert more. So then total points, I'm going to say this one's total homework points possible. Okay, I'm again going to wrap it. I'm going to call this total quiz scores possible. And this is going to be total test scores possible. Once again, I'm going to wrap it. Lots of text wrapping going on. Okay, and so then what I'm going to do, I'm going to see what the total points possible would have been. And so I'm assuming these are all out of 100. So our total points possible would be equals 100 times 3. I had 2 quiz scores equals 100 times 2. 2 test scores equals 100 times 3. And now we're going to do percent. So for quizzes, we'll do equals 282. Oops, no, I just want that. Let's try this again. Sometimes that happens. At least it happens to me. So equals, I don't want a sum. I don't want a sum. Get rid of that. Equals 282 divided by 300. But I don't want it as a decimal, I want it as a percent. So I'm going to go up here to percent. I also want my percent for my quizzes. So I'm going to copy my formula over. Ta-da! And then I also want a bold percent for my tests. So I'm going to copy the formula over again. Okay, so we have the overall grades for homework, quiz, and tests. And so now we go back to this kind of description here, make it a little smaller so we have room to do some more stuff. Now we want our overall grade. I'm going to put this up here. You could label this wherever you want, but overall grade, I'm just going to make this one bigger and just double click there. Okay, so for our overall grade, if homework's worth 20, we're going to say equals our homework score times 0.2 plus our quiz score, well, those are worth 30%, times 0.3 plus our test scores, which were worth 50%, times 0.5. So now our overall grade, well, there it is, but I want a percent. So 69.85% is our overall grade. So the reason this is called generalizing is, first of all, let's say I changed my homework score and I was like, oops, I thought I got a 92, I actually got a 75. That'll change everything. What if I want to add another quiz that I forgot to put in there, or we take another quiz? Let's say quiz 3. Let's say I got 100 on quiz 3. The only thing I need to worry about is the total quiz scores possible. So now instead of equals 100 times 2, it's equals 100 times 3. And it'll keep readjusting. Let's say we had test 3 and it was an oops test and you got a 40 on it. Now the total test scores possible was equals 100 times 3. Looks like I maybe should have had 100 times 2 before. Let's say we have a 4th test. We didn't do any homework. We didn't do anything else. I just threw it, or maybe this was like the final exam or something, the final test. Let's say on the final test you got an 80. So now we have the sum. That's still accounting for everything. And now we'll go to total test scores possible equals 100 times 4. And this will keep readjusting. So the idea is you're generalizing the spreadsheet so that you could change the input values and your overall spreadsheet would still work. And again, this is not the only way we could have solved this problem. You could have done other things, but this is kind of a general idea of what to do.